It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 230. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Not Kodra. Grace.
Pretty nice.
Tam.
Hey.
And Phelan.
Hey there.
Yeah, so that's a joke that was from before, and it won't make any sense, but it's cool, because Kodra's out this week. Kodra also has a bad habit of staying logged in to the voice server we record on, and, he's on the server, but we know he's not there.
I mean, he has a bad habit of staying logged into everything.
I still
His
remember...
character is still logged into Final Fantasy XIV right now.
Yeah.
Seriously? Oh my god. It just wanders away?
I mean, this isn't a new thing.
Yeah, I know. I think that was when we found out that there was no logout routine for Final Fantasy XIV. Is when he just basically stayed on for days.
That having been said, I'm totally going to out Ash as having been logged on all night.
Yep. Logged out near Palace of the Dead and forgot about it.
Yep.
Or rather,
I was going to say...
was going to log out near Palace of the Dead.
Yeah, there was no
didn't.
logging out that happened.
So, I've done this thing too, without realizing I didn't log out, but I always attempt to log out. Let's see, things that happened this week. Monster Hunter World released the Winter Star event, which is their winter thing, so you can make your Palico an adorable snowman.
Also, you had another chance to get the Wyvern Ignition if you missed your last several.
Yeah, so it looks like basically everything that has been available for the PC has repeated, except for the Dante event that literally just stopped. And then over on console, it looks like literally everything except for Kulve Taroth is available. On PC, we got another round of Kulve, since, we just recently got that legitimately. We also got Tempered Kirin.
That sounds awful.
Well, so yeah, it's that's the first time that PC got it.
Sure.
But I this weekend I finally got through Tempered Kirin again on the PC this time, and that fight, I was so used to failing that. So whenever you faint or whenever you win, the screen kind of freezes, and it's very similar. And earlier, we were fighting away, and a couple people were super close to it, and I was, sharpening, so I wasn't really paying attention to the action, and then I saw the screen freeze, and I'm like, oh, we got carded again. That was it. And no, it was us beating Kirin. But, my initial thought was, oh, okay, so we failed out yet again. So I'll have to queue again, but I don't think I'll ever do that fight again. Unless for some reason, there's another platform for Monster Hunter World and I decide to re-roll again.
What about helping your friend?
There's
I will absolutely help. Because the thing is I've gotten decent enough at Tempered Kirin that I'm not the one fainting. I almost always roulette my way into these fights because I find it more entertaining. So I was running around with a hammer. Whatever the highest end of the Diablos hammers, and I had the non-elemental gem in it to make it super damagey.
The secret to Kirin, the big secret,
is
bring
to
a
play a
light bow
ranged
gun.
weapon.
Bring
yeah,
a light bow gun.
I don't want to be a light bow gun though.
But it makes that fight
bow
so
gun is fun.
easy.
I did get my controls set up finally on the PC to where I have a reasonable ranged set of controls.
Took some work though, didn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty obtuse by default as ranged.
Yeah, so this is the thing. So Belle griefed me with a copy of Monster Hunter World for the PC, and which,
it was on
thank
sale.
you, Belle. Thank you, but also what the heck?
The range controls are so bad.
Yeah, so that's the thing,
you can get them okay, but it takes some work.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite weapons are the ranged weapons, and it does not feel great. I finally was just oh, I have a controller, I'm gonna use that.
I managed to find a setup that works, but it definitely took some work.
Yeah,
But
I've got a setup that doesn't feel bad either, but it took a lot of swapping.
Yeah, and I think like I need to maybe bind some things to just number pad stuff so that I can use my fancy mouse and maybe figure something else out. But boy, by default, it's not fun times. But I'm hoping I haven't got a chance because I literally like have only put maybe a couple hours in, if that. I just started messing with it, but I'm hoping that makes melee weapons feel a lot better because I just never seem to get the hang of them on PlayStation. So we shall.
The default melee keybinds make a lot more sense.
Yeah, like really for melee, the main things I swapped was control and right mouse button, because the thing it put on right mouse button isn't the thing that I actually use the most. So like by default, it had control for like spirit slash combo and control for shield block. Whereas it just feels better to have that on right mouse button for me.
Some weapons need both attack buttons on, or at least prefer both attack buttons on the mouse. I think hammer would be that way. I guess hammer, the only thing you use the O button for is the big bang combo.
Yeah, and that's fine for control. Like, I mean, control is a comfortable key for me to hit. That's what I usually do. Like in an MMO, I almost always have my alternate keypad or my alternate hotbars as control instead of shift. So like it's a thing I'm very familiar with hitting. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but it's also like I don't hit that button in Monster Hunter as much as like I do my right mouse button for especially as a longsword.
As an insect glaive, I'm pretty sure I hit circle more than any other button.
Charge blade also makes a lot of use of the circle button, but also charge blade requires that R button fairly often as well. So
well, like, I mean, it feels better, like, with Charge Blade to be able to actually block with the right mouse button, because, like, I'm used to games like Elder Scrolls Online where block is the right mouse, holding the right mouse button. So, yeah, like, it was what made logical sense to me, since I also play quite a bit with Lance and Sword and Shield. But yeah, so the Winter Festival is on, and that's mostly all I really wanted to say, is that if you have Monster Hunter on the PC, you should totally go do all the events, because you can basically catch up. Highly suggest getting a Wyvern blade. It's a freaking amazing.
It's probably the game's best greatsword, and it's available as an event reward for a low rank event. So as soon as you can actually take Rathalos, you can get that sword.
And it's honestly, like, the one thing about the PC community that's a little bit weird is there are not as many players as on the console. I mean, which is not shocking because it started late, but all in all, the players seem to be fairly skilled other than fighting Kirin. I mean, but nobody's ever skilled fighting Kirin.
I disagree. Look, you don't understand how much I farm Kirin on the PS4.
Tempered Kirin?
No, I only killed Tempered Kirin the once. It only took me the one try.
I can wreck hard mode, I can wreck normal mode. It's not a big deal. But Tempered Kirin is what I'm talking about.
It only took me the one try.
Yeah, the way I fight, I've only farmed Tempered Kirin. And I did the other ones once, and then all the other times I fought Kirin, it's been tempered. Because the way I fight Kirin, it's not actually different between the different difficulties.
There's a quest that I don't remember coming out on the console, but it's like you roam around the ancient forest and there's no big monsters.
Yeah,
and you're supposed to collect a bunch of mushrooms, but
but it's actually forced to collect tempered monster tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Like I did not apparently do this one on the console, and like immediately after exiting it, I think I had 4 tempered investigations waiting on me.
There's also one Elder Recessed, and that one gives you tempered Elder Dragon investigations. So, maybe more tempered Kirin.
I know we just got Lunastra, or however you want to call it.
New
on
least
PC.
favorite monster is what I want to call it.
Yeah, it is not a fun thing to fight.
Oh, the Teostra Plus?
Yes.
Well, yeah, like it's a worse version of Teostra.
Like, as Elder Dragons go, Teostra is not the one that I dislike the most, but
Valhazak.
I didn't need
That's
one
the
that
one I dislike the most.
Stupid steel flying one.
Kind of funny you come up with a different one for each of us, but I hate Teostra so much.
Really? Yeah. Like, I just throw on some fire resist gems and consign myself to standing in some of the fire.
I am highly mobile, and so I just be where the fire isn't.
But with your, aerial maneuvers, I'm sure the tornadoes get really annoying on Kashala Dior.
Yes, those are misery.
Yeah, like for me, Kashala is not a big deal. Like,
Yeah,
I just don't be where the tornadoes are at. Whereas, like, having the appropriate resists to fight Valhazak is just annoying to me.
I definitely take the extreme other tack. I don't even bother with resists for anything.
I am not as mobile as as you are. So, funny story. Like, Ray's favorite weapon in Monster Hunter is Insect Glaive as well.
This doesn't surprise me.
No, she tried bow for a while.
Yep, me too.
And noped. And then I told her Destiny 2 had amazing bows, and here lately she's been playing nothing but Destiny 2. But it just cracked me up. Like, it went straight from bow to Insect Glaive.
That's exactly the progression.
Familiar.
That's exactly my progression.
I think Longsword is still my favorite weapon, but Hammer's probably close second, with like Lance and Sword and Shield probably tied for third.
At this point, I have no idea what my favorite weapon is, but probably just Lance. But also lots of dual blades, lots of heavy bowgun.
Dual
like
blades is so annoying.
Light bowgun is really cool too.
Dual blades is just annoying to group with. They're just so annoying to group with. It's like,
More annoying than longsword?
I mean, I try really hard to attack on a side that no one else is on, but like, I'm not used to having longsword users pushing me away from the mob, but I absolutely get that with dual blade users.
Dual blade has to stand so very close to hit anything, so
Yeah.
mostly you just get to hack at the feet. If somebody else wants to hack at the feet, well, then that's too bad.
Yeah, and the other one that is annoying is Switch Axe. I like playing Switch Axe, but my god, Switch Axe sends people flying constantly.
Greatsword has a swing that can send people flying. For the most part, you just don't use, but Switch Axe uses theirs, so...
Well, and like, you would think that the hammer golf swing would knock people aerial, and it can under the right circumstances, but it doesn't seem to do it as often.
You have to be real close for that to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Switch Axe, you could just be somewhere on the same side and still go flying. I mean, Charge Blade's problem is it just ends up knocking you down when it fires off the lightning attack.
Yeah.
I will say on the PC, I mess around a lot more with other weapons than I did on the console. And I think I kind of account it to, like, mouse and keyboard is my comfort zone, so I'm way more willing to fiddle with other things than when I'm on a control scheme that feels very foreign to me already.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, another thing that happened this week is a bit more sad, but Wildstar closed its doors officially.
I had all the sad. So,
Pretty sad.
I mean, I've gotten on my soapbox many times about Wildstar. It was probably still my favorite MMO, even though I wasn't playing it very much towards the end. And I was super sad because I knew when it was ending, I really planned to be there, and I ended up at work late, couldn't get home in time, and just missed it. So that was a pretty big bummer. I was pretty upset.
Well, it was at a weird time, too. It was like 4 o'clock Pacific time.
No, it was like 2 o'clock Pacific time.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fairly early.
I feel like that time makes sense to me, but to no players.
I mean, it makes sense to me thinking about human beings who have work to do.
Yeah.
But it sucked as a player because, I mean, the time zone I'm in, it was reasonable that I could have gotten home in time, but I didn't make it. So it was sad, but I sat and I watched my friends on Twitter talking about the game and reminiscing, and, some of the current and former devs talking about the game. And just thinking about the community and the friends that I made and everything. So in that sense, it was as positive as it could have been. But it really just sort of, I don't know, drove home how ephemeral these worlds are, and how, I don't know, like, I've made a bunch of really awesome friends playing MMOs, and I want to try to do a better job of enjoying myself and my friends in the games that I still play, knowing that they're not going to be around forever. I mean, it'll probably be a real long time before WoW is gone, but it might not be. You know, you just don't know what the heck's going to happen.
It is definitely feels like a rare event for an MMO to actually shut down.
It's it's pretty rare. A lot of what Grace says resonates with me because I think about Star Wars Galaxies.
Yep.
And like Star Wars Galaxies was the wrong game at the wrong time in so many ways, but it was also so great in so many ways, like that just no other game has been able to capture.
And so for me, Wildstar is sort of the second MMO that I've played that's been shut down, that I really care about. So the other one was Glitch, which was also incredibly unique, and had a really ridiculously interesting community, even if it was very niche. So yeah, I don't like trying to enjoy the things and the people that I enjoy in MMOs, and but I think also Wildstar's the first one that I was so invested in that's gone under. I mean, I love Glitch. I played a lot of it, but Wildstar, made me start a blog and like write a bunch of guides and all kinds of other stuff. And I want another game to come along that I get that enthusiastic about again, but also having gone through the process of loving and losing, I'm not sure how likely it's going to be that I will let that happen, so it's kind of sad.
I have a thing. I had a similar feeling after Galaxies, and I think where I wound up with is I would much rather have the good times and the bad than have no times.
Oh, I agree. Like, this isn't something that is going to stop me from trying new games or playing the ones that I currently do. It's just for the same reason that when the closure of Wildstar was announced, that I mostly stopped logging into the game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just less likely to be as attached to something, knowing that it's not as permanent, that it is not long for this world. So it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure maybe something else cool will come out soon, and I will totally change my tune. I mean, Torchlight MMO, come on. Make me believe again. But yeah, it's been kind of a bummer of a time.
It was really rough to watch it kind of unfold on Twitter. Like, this was not my game. I mean, I played it. I never got to cap. I kept hitting stumbling blocks along the way. But, like, I know a lot of people like you and, like, other people in the little Twitter community that we're in that were super into this game. And what was rough to watch this time is, like, both the developers and the players very much did not want to let go. Like, it was very clear.
Yeah.
Like, and watching the last moments of the server that were recorded by, a friend of mine, you could just tell from the community staff that, like, this was hurting them too.
Yeah. And certainly the player outcry reminded me a lot of when City of Heroes died.
Which is,
I mean, that has something
also
in
NCSoft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, same here. It wasn't my game, but like it was the game for people that matter to me, and so, and I remember how I felt when City of Heroes died. So it sucks.
And I mean, and like when City of Heroes closed too, it was a similar thing. Like, it was not a game I was actively playing, but it was a game I fondly remembered. And, like, I felt bad for not actively playing it because it died. Like, it's, it's not logical, but, like, there's been a couple times where like a restaurant closes and it was a restaurant we liked, but we didn't go there that often. And in the back of my head, I think, well, if only I'd have gone there more often, like they would still be open.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not entirely true in these situations, but like it kind of feels that way at times. Where like if I had just spent more time in City of Heroes, or if I just spent more time in Vanguard, then they would have made a little bit more money and they wouldn't have closed.
I thought Vanguard reopened.
No, it went.
Is it reclosed?
It reclosed, yeah.
Oh.
So Vanguard was bought by SOE.
Yeah.
And then as part of the whole Daybreak thing, well, actually prior to the Daybreak sale, it was shut down. So I think they were trying to make their books look good prior to that sale. But I mean, like on the other hand, it's almost worse to see a game in living death, because like,
oh yeah,
don't disagree. So okay, like Trine Worlds just got bought by a company that has lots and lots and lots of games that they do questionable things in. Like one of the things that they sell in Echo of Soul is temporary bags, not permanent bags, but temporary bags. So you get inventory for like 7 days.
It does not sound like a thing I'm interested in.
No, and like Rift already had a lot of hooks for microtransactions, but like I feel like it will become a completely unplayable game under the tutelage of Gamigo. So like on one level, I've already started mourning that game. Like it's just mostly gone. Similarly, I don't know how long all the Daybreak games will stay up and running. Like I fully expect at some point that EverQuest 2 will finally close their doors.
It's part of my guilt over Wildstar, because knowing, NCSoft and knowing how the game was doing, even before the shutdown was announced, I was sort of distancing myself from it. But I was still playing, but not as frequently, and not paying for as much in-game, just because there is this looming sense of this game is probably not long for the world anyway. Didn't stop me loving it, but probably made it really hard to be as evangelical about it.
Yeah, especially with these games that you play with that are so predicated on playing with friends. If it's hard to recommend to your friends, it's hard to get really that into. There have been a few things that I've hopped into and I've been like, I could see myself enjoying this, and I do, but I can't really recommend it to anybody because I know that none of my friends would be into it. And so, like, I kind of end up just not really playing much because I don't want to craft a whole new community, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's been an issue. It was an issue for me with Wildstar for a while, where there were a series of server mergers and waves of my friends coming out, dropping out of the game and stuff. So I had to go through the process of finding a new community, a new guild a couple of times, and that gets really old, especially when you want to play with your close friends and they're jumping around doing something else that looks pretty fun. It's kind of hard to stay and try to build a new home from scratch all the time.
Yeah. And like the more times you kind of build a home from scratch, the more you're like, is it really worth it the next time?
Yep.
Versus games where there's like, whenever you come back to them, there's always a home waiting.
Which is honestly like a decent segue at this point to the returning to Final Fantasy XIV.
Yep.
Because I'm now shuffling the order of things.
Except that game literally does not have a home waiting, because the reason I haven't come back and joined again with you guys is I'm still bitter that I lost my house.
Oh, yeah. So I like from the standpoint of like Saul has done an amazing job of keeping an active community.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
mean, and I'm not like doing all the things that they're doing necessarily, but like I've come back and started like working on the main story quest, and weirdly enough, mostly questing as a samurai, not a warrior.
I mean, samurai's pretty entertaining.
It is like the least liked job now, I think, for grouping. A lot of the serious players have a lot of trouble with samurais.
Huh.
And it's not necessarily that they're the new dragoon. It's just there's a lot of players that are like the hardcores that don't like the fact that samurai doesn't give any kind of group buff.
Ah.
That they're
Black Mage
just
doesn't give any kind of group buff either.
I guess they've just accepted Black Mage. But like, you know, Ninja and Monk and Dragoon even do some stuff. But I don't care, it's fun. Samurai's a weird little dance.
Yes.
But it's one I like.
Yeah, I sort of feel like there's definitely this a pattern with FF14 where like right around, I don't know, a handful of months before an expansion, like a lot of us will have stopped playing, but then a lot of us will come back. But it also tends to feel like a good time for that.
Yeah, because I feel like there's plenty of content to work on, but I'm pretty sure I have sufficient time to get caught up before the next expansion comes out.
Yeah, it's not until next summer, I think.
Yeah, but it's not so far away that I'll get bored and wander away before it comes out.
I will say the whole cross-server at a data center level is going to be handy. I just wish they had done it as cross-server, period.
Yeah. I mean, maybe ultimately they will eventually, but yeah.
The Balmung players are pretty salty.
Yeah.
And they have every right to be.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, as are the European players.
For similar reasons.
Yeah. I mean, like, it would be rough to have been part of a data center and used to grouping with people cross-server on said data center, and now you're getting thrust to a different one. Also, it was, like, super nice for European players that basically, like, there was no wrong choice. They could all functionally play together.
Yeah. Yeah, I get why they're shifting the data centers around, but I definitely get why folks are unhappy about it.
I feel like at some point they're going to have to figure out how to do cross-game, period, grouping. So what's funny is, like, I own, like, every soundtrack to the game, so it shouldn't shock me, but coming back, I'm always pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoy just listening to the music while roaming around.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, like, I feel like Heavensward and Stormblood aren't as strong of soundtracks as A Realm Reborn, but they've both got this thing going on that didn't quite so much exist in the old world, or at least not all of the old world, where you hear the same tune over and over and over, but it's like blended in different ways each time.
Yeah.
Stormblood at least has a theme for Alamigo and a theme for Doma.
Right. And I think that's why A Realm Reborn feels stronger, is it had a lot more variety. But it's kind of cool to see the same melody DNA carried out through lots of different tunes in the same region. Like that Doma theme gets played in a bunch of different ways. So
yeah, they really do different treatments of the various music, and I'm a huge fan of them. Like the Doma theme going from, you know, sleepy city, like sleepy small town theme to like crazy boss theme is pretty great.
Yeah. Also, our housing area is gorgeous.
It really is.
What class are you focusing on right now, Thalen? Still Machinist?
Bard.
Bard? Okay.
Yeah, Bard was my main. I never did get Machinist caught up to 60, so still Bard.
Okay. Yeah, I knew at one point you were playing Machinist.
Mm-hmm.
I need to try out Heaven on High or whatever it's called and see how reasonable it is for catching up other classes.
Well, I can fill you in on that one.
Oh.
So this afternoon, my Scholar Summoner pair hit 70, and I've been back for about a week.
Oh, nice. So it does not slow down the way that Palace of the Dead did previously?
I mean, it was built for leveling 60 to 70.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to be level 61 to even get in.
Oh, God. So you've got to do the old one to get to 60?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds painful, because, like, getting to 50 was fine. 50 to 60 was hell.
Well, that's much better in Old Palace than it used to be.
Yes.
Okay, so they've tweaked the rates up as well. Okay.
Yeah. It takes, 50 to 60, honestly, like, my 50, 51, and 52 were, like, a palace run each. and they've been slowly going up, but it's no more than like, I think at 54 it's like 3 runs, maybe 3.5 to hit the next level.
It's 3 to 4 all the way up, except for actually level 60, which is 7 runs.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's way better than it was.
Which is, yeah, it's not terrible. Like, it's still not the thing I actually want, but it's fast enough and relatively painless enough that I'll settle for it.
Yeah, and I've got a coworker that's a Savage Raider, and we were talking about this the other day of kind of like we were talking about, you know, on the podcast, is like this is the Achilles heel of Final Fantasy XIV, is that there isn't a great way of leveling alts. Like, there's a workable way of leveling alts, but like it's very grindy, and it's very, I'm going to keep my head down, I'm going to grind until I get through it.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
There are a few things you can do that are worth a giant ton of XP that aren't Palace.
Yes.
But mostly they're limited in time.
Yeah, they're limited in time, and you somehow need to have the gear, which is less of a problem for some of them, but still a thing to consider. I was pleasantly surprised at how quickly I was able to get from my like 63 summoner to 70. I think we actually, or Ash mathed it out, and it was like 42 runs total.
You go from 61 to 70 if the only thing you do is Heaven on High.
Yeah, which is like a few hours.
Yeah,
it's a comfortable
stuff.
It's a comfortable speed. I wish that it scaled. I wish that it scaled the mob count and difficulty with the number of players in it, but I wish a lot of things. I wish we could have multiple guild houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be very down with having one in each of the housing districts.
Yeah. Sol might kill me if I put her in charge of decorating multiple more houses, though.
I think most of what's in there has been crafted by someone in the free company.
Oh, yeah. No,
probably.
The decor in there is incredible and, like, changes seasonally.
I know Sita likes to decorate as well.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully the cherry tree is stored away somewhere and will show up in the spring then. Oh,
I'm sure.
I would be sad if that cherry tree was gone.
I did like the cherry tree. I just like that it feels bigger. Like, it was the problem that we were running into with the other one, was there's too much stuff that we wanted to put in it, so it just sort of felt cluttered. And this one does not feel cluttered.
Yeah, I mean, we were completely out of spaces for stuff, so anytime we wanted to add something new, something had to go away.
I hadn't actually been in the house since coming back, but the kitchen upstairs is so great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I've been, as always, like, I've caught up on the story, and I'm obviously not going to spoil it at this point because there's a bunch of people still catching up, but I appreciate that it's good at keeping me guessing. I'm that insufferable person who figures out how the movie is going to end about a third of the way through it, and it's like usually just shut up about it. But it's, for me, really interesting to see how, like, they did some stuff with some characters that I didn't expect to see. Some, like, story resolutions occurred that I wasn't really prepared for. And, like, they're I don't want to say anticlimactic, but they're not a nice, neat ending. And I appreciate that they're willing to have untidy endings, because not everything has a tidy ending.
Yeah.
Well, they've also been really good at revisiting loose ends.
Yeah.
Like bringing back characters that, gosh, I haven't seen in forever and ever. Like, I don't know if all of the Stormblood job stories bring back the character from the low level class quests, but the Bard one certainly does.
The Paladin one does as well.
And it was cool to see him again.
Warrior definitely does.
Yeah. So I kind of figured they probably did that with all of them.
Scholar and Summoner do not.
Dark Knight, saying more would kind of spoil it. It is the best storyline in Stormblood.
Dark Knight is so good story-wise. Although I'll be 100% honest, like, Lalafell and Tonberry lesbian romance, I'm 100% here for it. I would not have expected that would I would have expected the text that I'd find that in would be like somebody's fanfic that maybe they don't ever publish, But no, this is actual quest text, and I'm here for it. It's adorable.
Well, also, I kind of noticed while we were playing through it, but coming back at the very end of the Heavensward story and wrapping it up, it really hit me the degree to which like they really advanced characters and changed things over the course of that expansion.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to assume, particularly from the things that you've said, that they do similar things in Stormblood, and I really appreciate that. Like the story as a whole, and also characters' individual stories feel like they are advancing, and like things aren't just standing still.
Yeah, there are character arcs. Some of them very good.
And
Not
some
all
of
of
them can't
them.
quite catch a hint.
Also that. I will say that there is a story that was hinted at the end of Stormblood that I was expecting to be insufferable and wasn't. I'm glad that I really hated Yatsuyu.
I was going to say, based on our discussions at the end of Stormblood, I can guess who you're referring to.
Yeah, I really hated Yatsuyu. I really hated everything they were doing with that character, and I don't like her character anymore after Stormblood, but I understand, like, I don't like the character anymore, but I don't feel like the character is badly written. It's just that Stormblood is the introduction to, she's a foil for a different character that you don't see until post Stormblood.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay. Huh. That's interesting.
Also kind of amazed at how quickly I got back into the groove on things in this game.
Muscle memory is real. Actually, my muscle
Except
memory...
when they change your combos, and therefore muscle memory screws you up.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my summoner life at the
Yeah,
moment.
I mean, playing Bard is pretty different from what it was when I left, because that was before they gave us our movement back and changed how songs work and all sorts of things. But I was able to adapt pretty easily, and I've got my crafting groove back.
I don't think I've ever had my crafting groove.
Working on my beast tribes. It's pretty great.
Learned to heal again, and Scholar actually feels really good now.
That's good to hear. It got into a pretty reasonable place for the time that I wandered away.
Yeah.
It didn't start out great, this expansion.
No, both Scholar and Summoner were not in a great place this expansion, or at least early on. And I think Scholar is Scholar is actually, I was having quite a bit of fun healing with it. I feel like I have the tools I need. It's not weirdly bloated. There's some weird stuff, but the stuff I can do while weird makes sense. Like, it fills a niche that I felt like I needed. Because like one of the big Scholar things is like, if you're healing, you don't have a lot of strong AoE healing, and so if like lots of people are taking damage, or even 2 people are taking damage, it can get really stressful. And I feel like they gave me a tool to do something about that. And like virtually no other tools, but that tool. Also, Broil 2 makes me less sad about losing the cool sound effect on Broil.
Does Summoner feel like it's in any better of a place? Because that was not in a good place when I wandered away. So no.
Well, it's more that I'm the wrong person to ask, because Summoner isn't Red Mage. And like literally Red Mage does gets me everything I wanted out of Summoner, but feels better. Summoner has like, you got really, really cool spirally spell effects. But you spend a lot of time kind of mashing the same, or at least I feel like I'm spending a lot of time just kind of mashing the same button. And I feel like I should be more excited about Summon Bahamut than I actually am, because it's like finicky, and I don't know, it doesn't feel super great to me. I know that I said as recently as the last podcast that I think my mistake from this expansion was not leveling that class pair up, and now I remember why I didn't. I mean, other than Red Mage. But yeah, I also don't really know, like, I don't know what I'm going to play next expansion, because those, unless there's like big changes to Red Mage that make me like it less, or big changes to Summoner that make me like it more, I'm not like, I don't know, I'm not 100% happy with either one. But also, they have what, at least one more class that they're planning on announcing?
Probably 2 more.
Yeah.
2 more?
I mean, Blue Mage isn't a real class, so...
So, no, two actual classes, yes.
Oh.
I mean, that said, I'm really excited about Blue Mage, because I like collecting things, and that's what Blue Mage is.
I do wish it had been a real class, but I am
I
a
do
little
too,
excited to
but I
play
understand
it.
why it's not.
I don't.
The biggest thing that I like about it is simply that we're getting it before the expansion.
Are we getting just it before the expansion, or all of them?
Yep, just it.
Huh. Well,
It's gonna be like Rogue.
Yeah, it's basically a mini game for us to be entertained before the expansion, and it's coming at the next patch. I mean, we just got a patch, so
And
it
next
will
major
be a
patch.
while. Yeah.
I was excited about all of the classes coming before the expansion because I feel like that's a good time to launch them. Because I remember trying to do the Red Mage story quest and not being able to because instance servers.
Hopefully we can avoid that this time. Heavensward didn't have that problem.
This is true because Heavensward didn't even let you unlock the classes until you got to the new place.
Oh wow! So we have a really long time until the next Fan Fest.
Yeah,
I didn't remember
Yes.
them being that far apart previously.
I mean, the holidays kind of happen in between.
Yeah, but like FanFest Europe isn't until February 2nd.
Yes.
Yeah. So most likely, I think the earliest the expansion would be late summer next year.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably a June-ish release again.
I mean, that's been all of their expansions so far, right?
Yep.
Like late June, early July.
I find the MMO release, like optimal release cycle, fascinating because it's one of the only game types that doesn't care about launching in Q4.
Mhm.
Everyone else does, but they don't.
In fact, honestly, like I dislike when an MMO launches an expansion in Q4
Oh yeah.
because like it's that time is so busy anyway.
Well, I mean, for the longest time, Q4 was World of Warcraft time, so other stuff was gonna drop somewhere else, possible.
I didn't even log in to do the anniversary stuff for World of Warcraft this year.
Me either.
Because like they started adding this whole thing of stuff coming from holidays is only usable during the holiday,
Really?
and
Oh,
it's just like that. I mean, they gave like an item that made all the NPCs look like corgis, which yeah, sure, that's funny, but if it's only usable during the holiday, like what use is this thing? Okay, so I could use it once a year. Like the first item I remember them doing this with was those sunglasses from the summer event.
Which you can use as a transmog.
It was from
Only
the first.
during
It was from the anniversary event, one of the previous anniversary events, I think.
okay.
Because that was so frustrating that like I spent the currency from the thing on those, and then surprise, you can't use them except during the event because Blizzard doesn't like people to have fun things.
And that I think that's the biggest frustration I have with Blizzard right now is like so much of what they do in World of Warcraft feels like they're being fun police. Like there's a fun way of doing things and they will always do the opposite thing. Or they'll give us a nice system, but it has to have a negative effect. It's kind of like needful things. Like they will give us this thing we want, but it's going to give us horrible gas pain. Or it's going to like, cause, bleeding in some way. It's like this will let us write, the world's greatest epic, but it's going to shorten our lives by a day per word written. I mean, like they there's a certain equation like this can only be so fun, but we have to make it somehow painful. I mean, so like we haven't even really begun talking about this, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be the first year when a World of Warcraft expansion happened and it didn't make it on any of our games of the year list.
We haven't written those yet.
No, but that still seems like a pretty good bet.
Sure.
I mean, usually it's Grace or I that put it on there, and I don't think either of us are going to.
I thought Legion was great, but no, Battle for Azeroth is not going to go anywhere near my list.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not in a great space, and I think they know they're not, but I don't think they also understand why. Anyway, so Tam, Tetris Effect.
Oh man. Okay, so through some trade shenanigans, I wound up with a PSVR some time back. And
picked up a few things, tried them out, was reasonably happy with the experience, but not like enthralled. Like I really enjoyed Eve Valkyrie, but like that's a super niche thing that I just happen to really like. But and so I just haven't been that enthused about the whole VR experience. Even Moss, which is supposedly like super great, I think it's cool and it's clever, but it's not for me, which is fine, but also doesn't help any. So I picked up Tetris Attack because I've been hearing really good things about it. Or Tetris Effect. Look, I'm bad at names. I'm bad at names of Tetris games because they all sound the same to me.
I loved Tetris Attack.
Tetris Attack wasn't Tetris, though.
That's fair.
It's fun, though.
But yeah, Tetris Effect, I didn't have any idea what to expect. It seemed pretty great. Loaded up, and I like Tetris. Loaded up, and and as I'm loading it up, Ash is pointing out that this is by the guy this is like Lumines adjacent, and I love Lumines. So pretty excited about this. It's super fun. I mean, it's Tetris. I haven't played Tetris in a long time, so they're like a really long time. So there's some interesting stuff that I had to get used to, like the fact that you can save pieces for later and press up to make them drop immediately and have a helpful little emblem like of where your piece is going to land, which I think saying those three things together indicates exactly how long it's been since I've last played Tetris.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's super fun. It's also incredibly trippy. And I'm super excited about just like crazy trippy music. But anyway, Ash and Kodra and I played for a while. And it was really neat. It's very like crazy sensory overload going on, but it's got good music, cool effects. Put on the headset a little bit later, tried it out last night, and wow, is that... I'm not sure if I agree with people saying it's the reason to play in VR, but it's certainly compelling. Just like, hey, do you want to entirely lose yourself in a Tetris game? Just completely? Could shut out the entire world and just play Tetris with music and a light show. And it's hard for me to describe in a way that sounds like, oh yeah, I can understand why you would want to do this. But it's really fun. It's just like, hey, it's kind of like IMAX documentaries where like the IMAX documentary kind of by itself is cool and interesting, but the thing that really makes it special is the spectacle. And this is sort of the same way. But also like IMAX, it doesn't feel like a one shot, okay, spectacle was cool, but now I'm very bored of it. Like, this is a game I want to play more of. I also like the way they do levels. They'll do Tetris stages, and each stage is just more levels you have to get through, which makes them harder, because at first it's not too bad, but that slowly escalates.
I think one of my favorite things about Lumines was just the way that the gameplay stages sort of evolved over time into different looking stages, but like each one was at least partially related to the one before thematically.
There's a little bit of that going on in Tetris Effect, not a ton.
You get a chance to try like mood mode or whatever they call it, which sounded like it might be more that thing.
Yeah, mood mode is more that thing, which is what
I think it's called something else, but it might actually be called like emotion mode or something.
Oh, whatever it is, it's some incredibly nonsense term, but it was definitely fun. I'm not sure that it tailored my Tetris experience to my emotions the way it claimed. It definitely has the Lumines devs' hands all over it, fingerprints all over it, which, as mentioned, I'm okay with. I love Lumines. My one complaint about Lumines is it's not enough like Tetris.
Tetris has been a weird mixed bag for a really long time, where games were released that were like exactly old school Tetris or really playing with the Tetris model. Like, do you remember Tetris Sphere on the Nintendo 64, where it's like 3D round Tetris?
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like Tetris is sort of a perfectly built game. Like, there's not anything else you need to do with it. there's little levers you can pull and little things to tweak, but like you don't need to reinvent Tetris. It's not
when the Switch came out, they had, or shortly after the Switch came out, Puyo Puyo Tetris was a major game for it, which was literally a combination between the current Tetris rule set and Puyo Puyo, played in odd combinations because of course it was. It's definitely something I contemplated, but I haven't really been into Tetris since Tetris DS. So this sort of inspires me to maybe take another look.
Yeah, I mean, it was super fun just playing past the controller in a way that I was really not expecting it to be, honestly. It's like Tetris. We all know what Tetris is. It turns out Tetris is pretty good. It's just a fun game to play.
Tetris, like, no matter how long has passed, is one of those games that I can just kind of blend right back into.
Yeah.
Since I've played so much of it over the years.
I mean, it's been a really long time since I've played it, but I feel like it's so ingrained because of the number of hours I spent that it's just, yeah, like riding a bike. You're never gonna forget that.
Yeah, like, I'm definitely better at Tetris now than I was when I was 8, but it hasn't changed significantly.
But the funny thing about, like, this lineage back to Lumines is, like, Lumines was the first puzzle game that I was as into as I once was with Tetris. Like,
yes, same.
I could just, like, lose hours playing that game and just went into kind of a flow state.
For a long time, I didn't have a PSP, so I was into Mizuguchi's other game at that time, which was Meteos on the DS.
Meteos was also great.
Meteos was pretty great.
Definitely had a bit less of that flow thing going on, though, because that game is going to end soon, regardless of how good you are at it.
Yeah.
Well, like, Lumines had such a gradual ramp that you couldn't necessarily perceive that it was getting harder, but it was slowly over time.
Lumines for an incredibly long time was like my flight game. Like, oh, I'm on a plane. It's going to take me, forever. I'm just going to, like, put on some headphones, start playing Lumines, and when I extricate myself from playing Lumines, I'll be there or be closer.
I just like his approach to music in games, and this Tetris Effect shows it off a lot.
Oh, yeah. Which bit specifically?
The fact that as you start doing better, the music gets a little more intense, the background gets a little more intense, the dropping of blocks even is synced to the music.
Oh, yeah. That part was really cool. I was noticing that.
All these little things that make it great.
Yeah, I'm not knowledgeable enough at music to be able to really comment on it, but I know that I like it.
I think the only other puzzle game that, like, I ever really got into was I'm drawing a blank. What was the PopCap Games Match
Peggle?
3? No, it wasn't. I never
Bejeweled?
really got into Peggle. Yeah, Bejeweled. I played a lot of Bejeweled, especially on the Palm Pilot.
Bejeweled is great. Wow.
Yeah, everybody played a lot of Bejeweled.
I never really got into Bejeweled. I was definitely into Peggle, though.
I love Bejeweled.
Peggle is great.
I think my mom still plays Bejeweled, like, on the regular.
For me, like, I loved Tetris Attack, which you briefly mentioned by the wrong name. I mean, like, looking for another game. But yeah, like, I love Tetris Attack. Like, it was so much fun. But it was essentially match 3.
I mean, ideally a lot more than 3.
Yeah, I mean, preferably. But when I found Bejeweled, it was like, oh, this is like Tetris Attack. Now, I remember, like, I had bought it originally, and then, like, I think I rebought it on my first phone. Then PopCap Games went away. I guess they were, bought by EA?
Bought by EA.
Yep.
I mean, they definitely still exist, and definitely still make money for EA.
I know Peggle, the WoW add-on, caused a lot of delays and raids.
Sure did.
Look.
It came out during the start of Wrath when we were big into the raiding scene. So they also had Peggle Roll for loot, which I think we did at least 1 or 2 raids as a non-serious thing.
Yes. We had a great poker app back in vanilla for the hours and hours spent with the priests practicing Resuvius.
Did we ever try that with Sanctioned?
We did.
Did we ever do it successfully with Sanctioned? I don't actually remember any of this anymore.
We successfully tried.
Got it.
I vaguely remember there being a Pokemon card game add-on from around that same time.
That sounds like the sort of thing that would get C Indeed.
All right.
You'd think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was on WoW Ace and not on the more traditional sites.
The more respectable sites.
For years, WoW Ace, like when I had a birthday, it was the first forum to wish me a happy birthday because it always did it halfway through the day before.
Like that's your memory of WoW Ace.
I mean, like, just for year after year, it would wish me a happy birthday. Forums were weird.
Yeah.
I kind of miss them, though. Like, I realize Slack has become our new forum, but, like, there's something about a forum that I kind of still miss.
I miss forums for, like, larger groups of people.
Yeah.
Especially, like, larger groups of people I don't know. Because I feel like... I was commenting recently that I feel like Twitter is the worst medium for having a conversation.
I mean, yes.
I guess Semaphore is technically worse.
I mean, in truth, like, I may never have gotten engaged with Late Night Raiders were I not running the forum. Because Shiana needed a forum.
Yep.
There was plenty of weirdness that went along with that, too, because people seemed to think I had some actual power. I'm like, no, I'm just running the forum.
I mean, people thought I had actual power, and I don't know what that was about.
But you were a class lead.
I don't think I was.
I thought you were the rogue class lead.
No, that was Z.
Really?
Yeah.
that was not the impression that anyone outside of the rogues had.
I mean, fair. I think it's just because Z doesn't talk. Like, Z didn't speak much.
I mean, Z was in House Stalwart for ages. Like, and I still thought, like, I went roaming around all over the place with Z. And I still thought you were the class lead.
People thought you had power.
Well,
post Late Night Raiders, I had a raid lead tell me that basically, like, the moment you start talking in raid chat and, like, accepting responsibility for things, you're basically part of the leadership.
Yep. Accurate.
Pretty much.
I expressed an opinion a couple of times and became a raid officer.
Yeah, that sounds like a familiar story.
Hell, Ash knew things and I made him a raid officer. Do it again, too.
I think at this point we've probably gone over our allotted time.
Probably.
And I'm bumping another topic that I know will take way longer than any time we have left. So hopefully you enjoyed the show, and next week I'm sure we will talk about Smash Brothers, and we will have Kodra back.
We'll talk about all kinds of things.
Yeah. Hopefully you enjoy the show, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
6 days until Smash Brothers.